Hi, Evan.
Hey guys.
Hi, Ryan.
Hey.
Hey, you guys.
Da 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 da.
Why are you here?
It's like a mix between daycare and like providing empanadas, I guess. I think is what we're doing at this point.
That's your
Yeah.
role.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of special. This is we've had Johnny in as a guest, but this is well, I was almost going to say this is our first like official guest that wasn't related to us, but that's your brother.
Exactly. And the nepotism marches on.
Yeah.
No, to be fair, like I just love what you guys put out and just happy to be a part of it.
Yeah,
has
this
been
is
great.
awesome.
Say more.
Yeah. You guys do a great job, and there's so many fun topics. And when I go to all these, cracking up because when she goes to sleep, she's like, "Is that your sister?" And I'm like, "She's the one putting me to sleep now. Her voice is wonderful."
Ever since we were children.
So this is, you guys kind of worked this out. Again, I don't know what the topic is, but I heard you both kind of talking about it a little bit. So did you both come up with this together?
Definitely encourage the idea along with Ryan. I will not have any clue what she is talking about.
Okay,
and so I will join you in the not
We're talking about the
knowings.
episode still, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
And everything, honestly, at this point. But
So you're gonna be a dum-dum with me.
step aside and let the magic happen and make timely comments. Yeah, that's all
Cool.
I've heard.
Well, thanks for being here, man.
No worries, guys.
And for
Thank you.
the listener, this could be you if you pay up, sucker.
Yeah.
In blood or plata.
Yeah, you don't know what we've had to do to get here.
It's the new season of You Don't Even Know, Blood and Silver.
Blood and silver.
I've noticed though in editing the episodes that we're just getting more and more like blunt about the Patreon.
Give
Like,
us
early,
money.
We were like, this would be fun, if you want to participate. Now it's just like, give it to us.
This is true. This is true. I'm coming from the listener side. Yeah, I feel pressured. I do. I feel pressured on my side,
I'm scared.
but I want to. It makes me want to do it.
Yeah, well, that's the goal.
It's the reminder.
You guys, this introduction was written by AI.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because the topic today is algorithms.
Oh, you don't even know.
It makes me laugh every time.
Because you're like, this is the woman I love.
I always appreciate just how well it goes through. I'm like, it's that, and then goes into that. I'm like,
That's
Yeah.
Ryan. That's Ryan's doing.
I am
Yeah.
actually interested, once we're all done recording, what you think of this part
Yeah.
versus what you hear at the end.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
yeah. No, the transition's wonderful, and then just your noise, the consistency of it. It's like you were a musician or something.
She could
Did
have
you?
been something.
She could have been something.
She could have kept the tune to
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So algorithms. Now I heard you say algorithms.
That's
now
right.
what my brain processed was like, oh, we're talking about math, but that's not what we're doing.
I mean, we're kind of talking about math.
So tell me more.
I will tell you more by reading you the beautiful introduction written to me by ChatGPT herself. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, and I should say the prompt that I gave ChatGPT. GPT.
Wow. I'm gonna leave this all in.
This is the audience factor. We literally.
This is my argument for AI needing to take my job.
Yeah.
The prompt that I gave her was write a witty and interesting short introduction to a podcast the topic of which is algorithms.
Wow.
And this is what it gave me. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what it gave me to start. Get ready for a journey into the captivating world of algorithms where ones and zeros come alive to shape our digital existence. Think of algorithms as the magical elves of the internet, quietly working behind the scenes, making decisions for us, and occasionally causing mischief. That's what it said about itself. From recommending hilarious videos of cats playing the piano to predicting our Netflix binge choices, algorithms have weaved their way into our lives in unexpected and sometimes downright hilarious ways. So fasten your seatbelts and prepare for a roller coaster ride through the fascinating and whimsical realm of algorithms.
Holy shit.
And that's why I'll never have a job in the creative arts, because it just whipped that up for us.
I hate that.
We're fucked.
Yeah.
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 So I'll admit something, since this is what we're talking about. I wrote a cover letter using ChatGPT. And my angle was, if I got an interview, I didn't. But if I got an interview,
Spoiler
I would
alert.
fess up and say, like, I used ChatGPT for this. I'm a man who uses my resources. You should hire me.
And
So
I own
if
up to
anybody's listening, I am a man who uses my resources. Hire me.
I think the power of just that in itself right there is downright amazing and terrifying.
So terrifying.
Yeah, downright amazing, terrifying. What we talk about, my wife's in the room here too. What we would talk about is just the consistency that they know exactly what we're moved on to next through targeted ads. And definitely as somebody that had worked in hospitality and my whole life and started dabbling with our website and cookies and all the other stuff, what amazed me and what got me onto this topic of Alexis was I was doing it, dog. You know, I was starting to utilize some stuff, and and all of a sudden, and you just get one little traffic flow into somebody's life, and you can get anything you want just to keep the AdWords going and everything else, so that you can theoretically get your eyes onto your product that you're looking for as well too. So it's impressive to see what it can come up with, and then ChatGPT is just automated services. It's scary.
So
And it's free.
It's free.
Oh,
Which is
yes.
nuts.
Or ChatGPT in
Yeah.
particular. Well, it is free, and it's kind of amazing how much you can do with that tool, which is a consumer-facing tool that is not even, at the same level as what you would be using, Evan, in a business sense for tracking huge streams of data and patterns. Can we first establish what an algorithm is?
I would love that, because, like I said, I thought we were talking about math.
Please.
All right. I used a different ChatGPT program to come up with an example of what an algorithm is. And this is exactly, I did this all on purpose so that, And the prompt I gave it this time was, explain like I'm 5. What is an
damn.
algorithm?
So, before you do that, this is going to bum me out, isn't it, this episode?
No, it's not.
Because we did like a good one last time. This one's going to bum me back out.
No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because I gave it the prompt for the last topic to make it an uplifting series of examples
Okay.
about how algorithms can be used in the future. So this has all been plotted out between ChatGPT and me.
All right. I don't believe it, but okay.
All right, here we go. So algorithms are just like recipes that computers use to cook up solutions to our problems. Explain like I'm 5. Just like when you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and step 1 is to get the bread, and step 2 is to spread the peanut butter, and step 3 is the jelly, and step 4 is put it together. The algorithm tells the computer what to do in order. And the computer can then learn and follow similar instructions from similar algorithms to basically use logic instead of food ingredients to make predictions based on patterns that it finds after using those algorithms. So, for example, the algorithm might help the computer solve math problems or search for information on the internet, or even help you decide which movies you might want to watch. And the computer remembers the algorithm and then will follow each step as it's meant to do based off of how it's been programmed.
Okay.
So it's basically like a math equation or a recipe that the computer can solve to figure out patterns and to help you make predictions based off of those patterns.
Okay.
I'm a stupid fucking 5-year-old dude.
Oh, still don't understand.
Can we explain like on 3?
How much lower do we go? Is there a lower side? Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, I want to quickly rewind just a little bit. You said you used a separate
Yes.
ChatGPT?
That's right.
There's multiple out there.
Yeah. So basically, ChatGPT and many of its ilk, because it's just one of many different AIs that are consumer-facing available AIs that people can use to solve problems or figure out things or have things written for them or all kinds of things that an AI can do for you. But it is an open tool. It's an open suite of tools. And so a lot of different companies can make an app that uses ChatGPT as like the brain of its answer suite.
Okay.
So like there's one called like OpenAI Chat Pro, or there's like ChatGPT Lite Free. You know, there's like all these different ones that you can use. And then eventually there's a paying scheme where you then have to pay them money to get access to it. There's a whole thing right now with Reddit, by the way, in a very similar kind of vein, about companies being able to use their data and sell it to other third-party companies so that other people can get access to it. So, for example, like Reddit, right? You know Reddit.
Bless.
Reddit.
Yeah.
Not everybody likes to use the Reddit app to view Reddit.
Yeah, I use the Reddit app, and you looked at me and go, "Why are you using the Reddit app?"
You might as well have been viewing it on an Android phone.
But I don't know. It was there, and that's now what I'm used to. So it
And,
makes sense
you know,
to me.
Is it
That's,
versus like a Google search finding the Reddit app? Is that what we're
No,
on?
so there are other apps made by third-party developers who use Reddit's data. So like all the subreddits, what they look like, what comments there are, and who's commented on them. That's all a suite of data that Reddit allows these third parties access to, so that then you could view it on their app, which maybe has different features or looks nicer or, you know, has different tools that you can use, all kinds of different things. But Reddit is then giving them access to that data, which has all kinds of privacy ramifications and stuff, so it should be regulated. But it's important, some people would say, for the internet to be competitive, because if it's just Google, you know, running all the email,
Right.
if it's just Facebook being the only social media, you know, there should be competitors.
Right.
However, some of these big companies have good products. They just have shitty ways of looking at the products.
Yeah.
You know?
Got it. Okay.
So in a similar vein, ChatGPT is one AI that has been made available to be utilized through a number of different third-party apps.
Yeah.
It's just like a service, and lots of people can use the service. So I used several different versions of this chat program to generate the content for today's episode.
So freaky. Have you used it, Evs?
No. Honestly, what and it comes to this, I guess, like the battle of two ages is that it's just scary. It's scary. So I honestly haven't typed in the letters to like open it up to see what it could do.
Because it's going to get in your computer and take over everything.
Yeah, like what's like I always think of what's that Cartman in South Park where he gets eaten by the Trapper Keeper. I just get Trapper Keeper vibes.
Yeah.
I'm so happy you hit that so fast. I was gonna
I'm afraid I can't let you do that. Kyle.
That's literally how old I feel like in my head when I think of it. But there's so many amazing things I've seen it do. And like, not to cape on the hospitality thing, but people are utilizing it every day in hospitality for to just simplify services. Alexis and I have talked about how like a lot of our jobs that we do a lot of the time, we could just be kicked out of the system because something could be automated out of us. And like as a concierge with such a nice personality, I'd hope that it wouldn't happen. But as a general manager, you look at things and you're like, oh yeah, I could totally get rid of that front desk agent from screwing up that reservation because they didn't say the right information. And that's things that could totally happen from that stuff. So, but it scares me regardless.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about like the guy, wasn't it like one guy who created it? Did you
Algorithms?
No,
Trapper Keeper?
no, Sapphire. No, Chat GPT specifically.
Oh.
And I know the topic is algorithms, and we'll get back to like the overall topic because I have more questions about that. But like the guy who developed Chat GPT specifically kind of regretted it a little bit, or did I maybe wishful read that?
I've totally read something of similar vein, but I don't have a memory span to keep that in my head.
Let's jump forward then real quick to talk about one of the interesting dangers of algorithms before we talk about like the fun things that can be done with it, because it is important to understand that algorithms are a human invention, as are computers, and humans inherently have biases and prejudices, and all that it is machine learning, right? And the machines learn by being fed information, just like people. And they come to conclusions based off of the information that they're fed. If you give them a data set of information that's inherently prejudiced,
so if
biased,
your computer says some racist ass shit, you better look inward.
That's fucking right. That's fucking right. And that's why when people say like, the scroll doesn't lie, right? If you scrolling through your feed, it's not going to lie about you. It's going to be an accurate algorithm. That's for better or for worse, right? However, it's only going to be as accurate as the data that's provided to it. So if you only scroll once a month and you only look at 3 things, it's probably not going to be that accurate.
Got it.
The more privacy settings that you have turned on to protect your data from being fed into these algorithms, the less accurate the algorithm is going to be. And some people might say, well, great, because fuck the algorithm, right? I don't want it to know all those things about me. It being, whatever algorithms are being used by the service that you're using. There is no like master algorithm.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear. But it can lead to all kinds of problems in the decision-making process that the algorithms are used for, including for sales purposes. Like, let's say the only data that you're gathering for your sales stuff is whatever data is coming from these collection algorithms that track your website traffic, right? But the only people that are going on your website are people who are between 30 and 50 years old, theoretically, right? That means that you're only getting data about that group of people, which is not necessarily an accurate representation of all of your customers, nor is it the ones that you're going to profit the most from. So then you're going to get a discriminatory result from your algorithm. Doesn't matter how much data you feed to it if it's not going to be a complete set of data. And one thing that can be a real problem for is how the algorithms are being used in the criminal justice system now, because they're being used to predict who might reoffend.
What?
Yeah.
That's Minority Report shit,
I was about
right?
to say Minority Report.
Minority Report. There's an anime that's really good that it's called Psycho-Pass, and basically people are assigned like a number or like a rate at which they might commit a crime.
Yeah.
And so people's emotional states are like read constantly. And if you're like getting too hyped, then they're like, you're probably about to kill somebody. And they arrest you preemptively.
I don't like any of that.
Well, that's basically how these things work, right? Is we're feeding them data sets about what our behavior is when we're doing things and seeing things. And then it predicts what we want to see next and what our behavior will be after that. But yeah, and in the case of criminal justice, let's say, for example, that your data set is a place with like very extreme diversity setup, where there's like a majority racial disparity.
Right.
And that means that just the majority of crimes are going to be documented, committed by a certain racial majority, for example. Then that means that data set says that people who are this race commit these crimes.
Yeah.
Therefore, they shouldn't be eligible for parole because they will be more likely to reoffend.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that that data is correct. Even if all the data that's being fed into it is accurate, it's not necessarily a complete unprejudiced view.
Taking into
Yeah.
account of culture and all that stuff. Quick pause. Questions.
Yeah.
Questions, concerns.
Protests. Black Lives Matter.
So like the statement on like algorithm not being like a hive brain. Mm-hmm. Wait. Back to the 5-year-old.
So again, like algorithms are recipes, right? There's algorithms and there's AI. AI in general is just artificial intelligence, which has become such a big umbrella term now that needs its own 2 episodes. But algorithms, again, like go back to the explain like I'm 5, it's the recipe.
Yeah.
AI is the brain that's learning it, right? But the recipe is being given to the brain, and the brain learns those
So
recipes.
is there a cookbook?
Yeah. Yes, there is. Yeah. And that's what developers write. Developers write the cookbook.
Okay.
And eventually the AI gets so good that it starts to write its own recipes.
Fuck.
And that's what machine learning is.
Yeah. And so back to, I think maybe what Evan was asking, what you had said earlier, the humans are the ones starting this process,
Right.
meaning humans are the ones writing the original recipe, and then the algorithm or the AI is writing the extra crispy,
Yeah. The original recipe.
right?
Yeah. And just like in real life, the only actual original recipe is in Ireland now.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And that's why everybody puts their tax stuff over there.
Yeah,
What's up?
but because of that means that they're like inherently faulty.
Yeah, well, some people
Right?
might say that because, if it's being made by people, people are inherently biased.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be, those biases are going to be perpetuated
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
people that are making them. And that's why some people would say that is why AI being involved in more and more things like the criminal justice system or like government or, whatever, would lead to people being wiped out because
Yeah.
the logical, if you give a machine the ability, this is one of the theories, right? If you give the machine an ability to come to a conclusion, to write its own recipe and say like, well, human plus the earth equals earth being destroyed.
Yeah.
And its job that it's been given is to come up with the most optimal way to keep the earth from being destroyed. Then theoretically, if given enough unshackled, if you've heard that phrase before, unshackled decision-making power, if it doesn't have the restraints given to it by the master chef, the Iron Chef,
Colonel himself.
if it's unshackled enough, then it could make decisions that would ultimately cause humans to suffer.
A la Terminator.
Right.
Ah.
But some people would say that's already happening.
Fucking James Cameron strikes again.
Fucking James Cameron.
So good.
So ahead of his time, too.
But yeah, some people would say that that's already happening, that people are already suffering because of things like targeted advertising and false news,
Yeah.
information being spread around, misinformation. Personalized content can have an effect on people to where it's like this sort of self-fulfilling thing where I am this way and I'm being fed this content that tells me I am this way. And the more that you engage with that content, the more it reinforces your belief that you are in fact that way. So, if you engage a lot with posts about sports, then the algorithm might start prioritizing showing you sports-related content. Before you know it, you're like only looking at sports stuff and your family doesn't recognize you anymore. You're wearing game paint on your face all day. But truly,
They're like, good, it's Tuesday.
it's not even
Not even
Monday.
football season.
It's like the season's over. But that's how people get really sucked in and get, what's the word? Like,
Trapper keepered.
they get trapper keepered. They get fanaticized because they get sucked into that hole, that doom scroll.
Yeah. This, I'm going to ask the question. It feels a little bit dumb. But you were saying about the information that the algorithms are given, if you only give it like a certain section or portion of the information, then it's going to come up with, like you said, like low income communities, like more likely to commit crimes.
Oh, sure.
etc. If in an ideal situation you gave it every bit of information you had across all
Culture.
cultures, all like financial backgrounds, everything, then what does it do?
Well,
then is the result
Kills the people again. Goes right back to killing people again.
faster Skynet?
Yeah, faster, better Skynet.
Yeah.
it depends on
Straight to T1000.
Yeah, the flying ships, everything. Yeah.
it's a really short period of time too between the data being given and that happening. So the answer to that is it depends on several things. One is what your goal is in giving it that information. What is it trying to solve? Right?
Okay.
Any computer that's powerful enough can do any number of things, but it won't do any of them until you tell it what to do.
Got it.
So you can give it all that information, just like you can have all the access to the internet in the world, but you won't learn anything until you look it up. The computer won't give you any answers until you ask it a question.
So then is maybe like half of the power of the information you give it, the other half being
what
the
you
question you're asking it?
Yeah.
I also feel like a part of us, like we get like to that point where like the negative Nancy always comes into our brain and immediately it's Skynet. When in reality, there could be a chance here, the old brain chip, see you later, Musk, is that we could learn more about ourselves and it could end, a lot of bad thoughts, hopefully,
Yeah.
Hopefully.
That's some glass half full shit. I'm not having it.
No, like I said, I haven't opened ChatGPT, so that's the first time I thought of it.
No, I think that's an excellent point, and I think you're absolutely right. Because, like me, and if you've listened to this podcast before, I like to think of things in like a little bit more like positive intention, and like woo is something I've been saying lately because I'm just embracing it now.
Big woo guy.
But when it comes to technology specifically, I get very like negative. Because it is scary, because I don't understand it. I just don't. I feel like it's so far over my head that it must be bad.
Which
You
is
know what I mean?
so interesting considering like what you do for money.
You mean the OnlyFans?
His
Just
feet
telling
are-
people that they're enough and then taking your clothes off.
you guys can't see him, but his feet are wonderful. So I'm just saying right now, $9.99 monthly.
Sculpted by Michelangelo.
But I do think what Ryan's saying is true, is that we are still such in an early saga of what this technology has like come to be now, and it's only been like 40 years or whatever that we're now seeing such going from like having 3 computers on a desktop to sitting there having like a giant computer that would, like I always imagine like the old power plants. If you ever toured an old power plant for a school or something like that, it just looks like something like just gizmos. Like you just imagine gizmos everywhere,
yeah.
just huge buttons and lights going everywhere and stuff like that. Now it's all getting automated down to one little tablet that you can use to monitor tons of different applications and stuff. And so we go from that quick of an advancement that when artificial intelligence comes to the piece, and it was always in the movies, the sci-fi movies that we'd see, and it was always bad. It's crazy to not think of it as being something that would not be just super destructive.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, like, especially in the realm of healthcare, like algorithms can absolutely revolutionize our ability to treat things. Because, I mean, think about it. Like, one of the things that's holding healthcare discoveries back is just the manpower involved. Just getting the brains in there and getting them the funding to take the time to research shit. That's what costs so much money usually, is just the fucking time to pay these scientists and doctors to research stuff and fund their programs. If you could program a computer to run through all of those scenarios and those tests using the most accurate data sets possible on tests that have already been done, the tests just need to be run, right? Someone just needs to do them. If a computer could do that, think of the possibilities, and it's already happening. Like IBM's Watson has like found all these brand new markers for cancer and come up with all these novel cancer treatment things. Oh yeah, I mean, it's
I thought
happening.
it was just made to play Jeopardy. I thought that was like a gimmick.
No, that was like the promo video. It was like, look at how silly we could use this for. No, it's being used for all kinds of things. And for healthcare alone, like being able to personalize healthcare I mean, like if you've ever had a doctor who's had access to your chart digitally and then been able to just look stuff up real quick.
Right.
That's so different than having them stand there with their paper chart and going like, there's no way I'm going to read this in 10 seconds, like here's what it is. But if there was all that data, all the tests that you'd ever had run for yourself, all the blood tests, all the allergy tests, all of the immunization records, all of your genetic records, your parents' records, all of that stuff could be cross-analyzed and ran, that when you input a symptom, like WebMD style, it's not just referencing that based off of the encyclopedia of WebMD and saying, yeah, your symptom for this might be this. No, it's referencing you when you put in that symptom. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That could lead to improved diagnoses and treatment plans tailored to you, not just from somebody who's like biased, right? And is being told by a pharmaceutical company, you should sell my migraine drug and I'll give you a little something on the side. Computer don't care. Computer's going to give you the recommendation. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty amazing.
It is. I said this in another episode too, and I think you pointed.
So
It is, but fuck that. Yeah.
I took a second to process what you just did. Well, because it reminded me of a thing that I had said, and then you pointed it out. Fuck. I might end up editing this out.
You have the power there.
But like, I said something about there is as much good out there as there is bad. Do you remember that? I think it was maybe about like the recycling. I think that was the recycling episode.
Yeah.
So for
Evan's like, yep, that was the episode.
it was something about like for all of the good work that you do, there's a lot of bad shit that goes out that can like sort of balance
Taoist stuff. Right.
Yeah,
I remember now.
So that's kind of all of that positive stuff is great. But now I'm thinking like, well, what about all the horrible things that people are going to do with that same technology? Is it worth it? And like for the people who are possibly sick and who find certain markers early that makes it so that they can be cured of whatever ailment, they're going to say, yes, this is absolutely great. But then there's going to be another person who said, this fucked me in some kind of way.
Sure.
So we need to get rid of it. How do we decide which person to listen to?
Well, that's why it's so important to have people who are overseeing regulation, who are insistent on considerations about privacy and ethics and accountability, that they're, like committees overseeing what those regulations are, that companies that are separate from those regulatory bodies, as they should be, are, they're answerable to those bodies. But that also requires that the people that are part of those regulatory commissions are politicians, in other words, are young enough that they can understand this shit.
Yeah.
Because they're so old now that unfortunately many of them do have the mindset that this is beyond me. This is so beyond anything that I experienced for 80% of my life that I don't want to learn about it. I don't care. All it is unfamiliar and it sounds dangerous. When some of this shit could have been so handled by now. I mean, just beyond, and I get the healthcare stuff because of privacy, and that makes sense. But things like traffic optimization, city planning and management, all of that could be mapped out by a computer with so much more efficiency and speed, optimizing like building plans and like, you know what I mean? Talk about like the stock market and financial systems, like that's been computerized for decades now. But ways to use those things ethically could have been harnessed in such powerful ways by now if we just had some savvy people involved in the regulation of them.
Yeah.
Because instead, I short circuit. Because instead, what's happened is the companies that have created these tools and that are profiting from them in not so ethical ways, like collecting our data and manipulating the things that we're interested in to get us to buy things, but also selling our data to people who profit from that information. It's not just about like getting us to buy the thing. It's about collecting our suite, our little scrapbook of info that makes Ryan, that makes Evan. You know, what is the shit that Evan likes? That little package that's all tied up in your Google bow, in a bow that's shaped like a G. That package is valuable because, not necessarily because you're interesting, although you are, you're special and unique and beautiful.
I know.
My little snowflake.
No.
It's not because of you alone. It's because of you in your demographic, in your city, in your gender. You know, it's that whole package of information that's valuable. And that could be used in such cool ways. But because we don't have governments that are acting with savviness and with morals in regards to this technology, up until very recently, have they been thinking about it seriously.
But even then, they don't really like.
It's just running rampant. It's just been running like crazy now.
Does it ever scare us though that we're giving like almost not enough credit to these old wats that a lot of these people probably have the wherewithal, the understanding of what a lot of the capabilities are, but there's so much more profit in death and birth. You know, it's like what a lot of these good things that you brought up are, I mean, healthcare especially is so huge, but that creates longer life expectancies, which cost money, and they do add profit to some other side of it, but there's so much more money in death. There's so much more money in birth. And so like when you're sitting there in society and guys aren't taking advantages, but they're taking advantage of things that maybe are a little bit more tedious and day-to-day profitizing, like where every second that we're on our phone, the algorithm is figuring out a way to cater things to us so that we go, oh, yes, give me that, please give me that, you know. But the good things that potentially could happen out of it, it's almost taking money out of somebody else's pocket if we use it for our own benefit personally, outside of just the day-to-day stuff.
Well, it definitely, I think, very much used to be that way when digital resources, were not as ubiquitous as they are now. They're not as everywhere. I mean, everyone has a smartphone in their pocket. Anyone could download ChatGPT app and have these tools available to them now. It's causing a huge problem in higher education for that exact reason.
Write an essay.
Yeah.
Done. Oh my God, I would have fucking killed college if I had had that stuff now. That was the only thing holding me back.
College.
We would have. I didn't think of what we could have been.
I have a great personality, guys.
He's wonderful in class when he's there.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's just a thing where like we're just going to have to accept that there's going to be people who abuse these tools and people who use them for spectacularly creative and universally beneficial ways. It's just a tool, like any other tool. Its just name isn't Brad.
When you were saying the thing about the politicians and stuff, have you all seen that video? It was like a Senate hearing or something with one of the guys from Google, and one of the senators or something, or representatives, was in a real dramatic fashion holding up his smartphone, and he goes, "Can this thing track me? So if I move from where I'm sitting across the room, will it track me?" And the guy was like, "Well, I don't know. Like, what are your privacy settings at?" And he's like, "You're not answering the question." And he's like, "I'm trying to, but I need more information." And he's like using it as an
emotional tool.
Yeah, like they can't even tell us if it's doing it. How you know, how can we trust them? And really, like, you just kind of have to slow down a little bit and go, here's something I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Explain it to me. Explain why you can't answer the question I'm asking so that I can ask the right question.
It's the fear of the unknown and knowing what audience he's catering to too, which
Totally.
it goes
Not
back
looking
to-
for that answer.
When it goes back to what you're saying about the older politicians of that's why like that makes me question it. It's just like, you know, who is gaining something out of it by not utilizing it for its greatest potential?
Yeah.
And what do they know? That's always
Yeah.
where I go, you know, are they being dumb and
What do they know?
don't want to use it? Or is there more? It's like, you know, it's always where you think about like not Flintstone, it's the Jetsons flying spaceships kind of thing. Like they said we are going to have that by now. And it's like, well, they do, but we don't have that right now, you know, and that's the battle.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, again, like, it's not like how fingerprint technology, scanning technology, was available on personal devices in the military before it was on our iPhones, you know? Like, it's not necessarily the same because algorithms are just how computers work, you know? But the funding and the resources into creating new algorithms that can be used for these kind of broader purposes, that's where like those powers that be could be flexing their muscles, you know?
Yeah.
Like the algorithms are there. They're there. It's just like, how are they being utilized? Who's utilizing them?
Yeah.
What's the goal? Yeah.
So as these algorithms are getting more sophisticated and we are having tools now available to us like ChatGPT, is there any sort of like forecasting on what is on the horizon with these kinds of things?
Yeah. So, you know, like, again, like the healthcare sector is huge because it's all about predictions and recognizing patterns and stuff. And a lot of the times our bodies will create like data sets of patterns that we
Yeah.
won't be able to recognize as symptoms until it's too late, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the really big one. Another one that I think is really interesting is like energy management, sustainable energy management. So like being
Yeah.
able to manage power grids, at mapping weather patterns, especially like we were talking about in the weather modification episode, like climate change affecting weather patterns has meant that our old models for predicting what's going to happen with the weather, our magic, our magic predictions aren't necessarily so accurate anymore. So that's why it's so important for that math to be really nimble so
Yeah.
that those predictions can work, because that's life-saving stuff, which is really important.
So what you're saying is bye-bye weatherman,
See ya.
bye-bye creative writers.
Bye, Dave Hovde. Bye, Conan.
Yeah. What was the other one? Was there bye-bye hospitality?
Bye, hospitality.
Well, that's what the a lot of the argument with is that they're utilizing it to their advantage in hospitality, because what doesn't get taken away from the hotel experience is that person
Exactly.
sitting right in front of you. So hospitality has been one of the, like, as the fear is amassed, is that people are hedging their way towards hospitality more than ever in different realms of the workforce, because they can do sales and hospitality, but in other industries, in real estate especially, a lot of those guys get phased out because they can process loans for you.
Yeah.
They can process, they can find the best house for exactly what you're looking for and put you in it, give you the tour of I mean, now the tours are getting silly where you can be in the guest bedroom, you can be in the office room, you can do all that stuff right then and there. And with the post-pandemic period, a lot of people are getting more comfortable in buying cars from their houses. They're buying, houses
And you're getting
from houses.
those recommendations.
Not us, but
Houses.
people are doing,
General.
yeah.
Yeah.
People are doing that.
They're out there somewhere.
But hospitality is one of those scary ones where I thought about it the other day. I was thinking about how you can utilize it because it is such an up and coming thing in all industries, and hospitality, how you can minimize some of the tedious stuff that we have to do all day, every day. And then I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to work into that because that's probably is going to take away my stuff. They're going to put my good personality, my dimples into a computer. And no. But,
No one could duplicate those dimples.
Yeah. Craters.
Irreplaceable.
Craters.
No, truly. And it's very telling, I always think, how people feel about AI or machine learning or the automation process of industrialization taking my jobs. I always think it's so telling because people are like, well, then they're going to take away the jobs. And I'm like, yeah, the shitty ones.
Yeah.
And then they're like, but then people won't have shitty jobs. And I'm like, uh-huh. And then they're like, well, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, if the production is still happening and it's happening at a faster rate because it's being automatized and it's happening at more ethical rates because people aren't being exploited necessarily to do the shitty job, then that means supposedly, right, the profit's the same. So if the profit's the same and then we can, match those taxes to those profits, then theoretically the governments involved should have more money, which means there should be more money to support the people.
Yeah.
AKA universal basic income. And it's always very telling to me who's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Because they hate poor people. And that's the whole point of this is that, like, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's different. Ultimately, it's just another step in industrialization. The moral good goal of which is to relieve suffering and to allow for less people to do shitty things. I mean, pre-industrialization, you had children working in the fields as a norm. Like, your kid was old enough to hold a oyster shucking knife. Bitch was out shucking.
Yeah.
That's what you had to do to survive. Once we got factories involved, that cut that process of production, forever. And it's hard to move backwards without sacrificing what we've gained, literally.
But if profits, that's why I think like the people knowing more than we do is that if the cut is even getting bigger because you're not having to deal with paying for health insurance, or for those poor workers if they're not paying for health insurance, another thing too. But they're still trying to figure out how to keep a part of that cut for themselves at some point, and that maybe is why things aren't advancing as fast as they are. That's what I'm questioning. That's why it makes me think
the cut can only ever be bigger. I mean, like, we've had this conversation with our family many times where, like, once you have a pile of money, that pile is no longer enough. It supports a standard of living that you get used to, that you get acclimated to.
Yep.
And then you need a bigger pile to then support your new goals and ambitions and your new standard of living. And the same is true for any shareholder or stockholder or CEO or whatever of a company. They see those profits increase due to the changes of their production, and they're like, could do better. I've had better, you know? So then that becomes the new goal. It'll never be enough. The difference is, how do we get the regulatory bodies involved to get part of that that's equitable, that's fair, that's something we all agree that should be done, while still making it appetizing for those companies to be creative and to produce, just for the goal of making the earth a better place to live. And that won't change until we all just learn to love each other, man.
Aliens. I'm waiting for aliens, dog. That's how it is.
So we got to manipulate the algorithm to just play that Kermit the Frog song about rainbows and stuff.
I love that song.
Yeah, well, most people do. And maybe if we all listened to it and shared a Coke, things would be all right, man.
Get a tune.
Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Wow. That's super scary still. But very interesting. It's nice to have a little bit better understanding of how that stuff works, because people say it so passively, oh, the algorithm, and I'm just like, yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what.
But
I like the recipe. The recipe reference is something I will utilize and steal.
Totally.
No reference, no citation.
I love a good analogy.
Yeah.
Especially one made for a 5-year-old by a computer.
Kind of makes me want a PB&J now.
It's a sandwich of knowledge.
Cool. Anything else, kid?
Check your privacy settings tonight. Yeah, kiss your loved ones. Flip those switches from green to off. If you're feeling dicey. And just, stay curious, but look out for yourself.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go chuck my phone in the woods after this.
Clear cache. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks for joining
man.
us.
Cool.
This was fun.
Yeah.
We're going to hopefully have more of these in the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that we have the technology.
I was gonna say, yeah, we got the stuff, and honestly, what I love seeing from the behind the scenes stuff as well too. But it's great to see just how you two work. It's great to see you guys. You guys are awesome, and I tried to keep quiet for a lot of it, for most of it, just because I don't know what the fuck she's talking about. But B, because I just love hearing these guys work, and I also love the conversation. So it's like when you have those thoughts while you're listening to this podcast, you'll be like, oh yeah, I wanted to say something in there. Well, now I get to do that stuff. Okay. And so I was me doing it if you ever heard me, but this has been great, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, this was really fun. Yeah. Thanks for wanting to participate.
Yeah.
And thanks, Kid, for all the info.
Oh yeah. No, all of it brought to you by AI.
Wild.
And if you too want to do this, pay a small membership fee to Patreon. And, no, I'm just kidding.
No,
just kidding. Actually, no.
Yes.
Pay up, damn it.
Or marry into the family.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Secession style.
Well, I'll speak. We can wrap up after this, but I don't want to sound pushy about the Patreon thing. We've gotten really good suggestions from the people who have participated in it, and that's been really exciting. The audience engagement element of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm greedy. I want more of that. Not necessarily the money part. I want people to participate.
Yeah.
Because the feedback that we've gotten, from you, Evan, and from Superfan Paul, and from Joe and Jesse and others. They like it, and so that's been really cool. So even if you don't contribute, do the Instagram thing, comment on all that stuff, because I still want to see it and hear your ideas and stuff.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.
Yes.
Like and subscribe.
We want to hear you.
Yeah.
And money talks.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, kid.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.